Hey guys, Savage Joy here with Real Progressives. Tonight I am continuing my Cali interviews with Mr. Jason Kishineff. He is running green for Congress District 5. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Jason.
Well, thank you for having me, Joy.
Absolutely. We've been doing, I think like my past 7 guests or so have been California. I had Gail McLaughlin on for a second time, and you guys have endorsed each other, if I'm correct. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's awesome.
Isn't she wonderful?
That's pretty amazing to have someone like her endorse you. That says a lot because she's pretty damn kick-ass.
Yes.
So you started out as a Bernie volunteer, and then you did switch to green, as many did.
Yeah.
What was the deciding factor in you running as a green?
Well, my main goal is to get rid of corporate money interference in our political system. And I understand that some people think that that's possible as a Democrat to reform the Democratic Party, and I think more power to them, and I hope they can. But I don't see that as possible. I see the Democratic Party as needing to be replaced. I went green because the Democrats, I waited for decades for them to represent me, and when somebody was really representing me, they put their finger on the button and said, nah. And so I, just felt like that was never going to happen. They just make it clear. It's just, we're not going to allow it. So.
Absolutely. So what are the other people like who you're running against?
Well, there is the incumbent is running for his 11th term. He is big money candidate. He's a Democrat, but he's a blue dog Democrat, considers himself conservative, although he's not that conservative, but he's taken a lot of corporate money from a lot of companies that, to put it nicely, are trying to affect the political system in a way that the people are not in favor of. There is an independent who, I'll just say, he wants to build stronger ships for our Navy, and he wants to prevent people from being microchipped. And then there's another, no judgments, not for me. Then there is another independent who is another Bernie supporter. And I supported him in 2016, but I felt like the fire was lacking. I feel like, the progressive changes that we want to end wars, to pass universal health care, to get rid of corporate interference, to get a higher tax rate on the wealthy, somebody's got to stand up and say, no, damn it, this is not cool. Enough is enough. And I feel like I'm that guy.
Right on. Are there any other greens you're running against?
No, there was a green who was trying to get on the ballot before the signature period. But he decided to back off and pursue a city council position as well instead, I think.
So as far as, Greens getting on the ballot and everything, that also comes down to on your platform, which I ask every single candidate about, you do have electoral reform. California is one of the ones that just got fucked over so bad. Like, you guys are one of those states who just, Bernie would have won that state. We all know that. So what do you hope to find in place in the near future in California, but also across our country?
What do I hope to put in place?
Yes, as far
I'd
as electoral
like
reform.
to start with paper ballots, automatic voter registration on 18. I'd like election day to be on a weekend or a holiday so that everybody can make it and we're not screwed over like in Arizona where they had 5-hour lines in 2016. I think the best thing we could do is proportional representation, which a lot of Greens are in favor of, so that let's just say hypothetically that only 10% of the people were Green, well then 10% of the representation would be Green. Now, I think we have more support than that, but I'm just saying hypothetically.
So a lot of Greens I know are in favor of ranked choice voting. How do you feel about that?
Oh, totally. Ranked choice voting is absolutely the way to go.
Yeah, Maine is allowing that, so it'll be interesting to see how that works out and if other people will adopt that. So you did touch on no corporate money. Was that something you decided immediately when you got into the race?
I decided it before I even decided to run. I was learning it from Bernie Sanders. Like he was up there, and this is like in I want to say February 2016, saying, you know, all these corporations donate all this money. And I was like, yeah, so. And he was like, well, what, don't you think they expect something for that money? I was like, huh, yeah, I guess they do. Oh, yeah. So I realized, you know, thanks to Bernie back in 2016, that corporate money had to go. I talked to my congressperson about supporting Bernie Sanders with his superdelegate vote, and he doesn't even want to hear what I had to say. And then about several other things, like he voted against an ivory import ban, and like, what's up with that? And it was all about, I did it because I thought a musical instrument manufacturer in the district needed to use ivory to manufacture their instruments. And I was like, wait, so killing endangered species is okay with you if a business in your district wants to do that? And like, what the hell is going on? So yeah, it just
Wow.
I got slapped in the face with it, just like, you know, most of us did.
Yeah, that's something I love about interviewing progressives. They're so much more transparent about what they want and what they've done. You, in your About Me section on your campaign website, you share a little bit about your hardships and how you've been the 99%. So you spoke a little bit about how you were on assistance and you were on unemployment and things like that. So do you want to talk a little bit about how that shapes you as a candidate?
Yeah, as a candidate, I mean, I'm trying to convince you, the voter, that I'm just like you. And, you know, if I'm the incumbent who's worth $7 million, you know, that's not genuine at all. But me, I'm just like you. I've been there. I've taken unemployment to the maximum and run out of unemployment benefits and had welfare and had to deal with medication issues where I couldn't get my medication because Medi-Cal needed to tar it, and I had to wait for the tar to be approved. And then they had further questions, and it got deferred, and I had to wait. It sucks. It sucks. I've had teeth pulled because there was no dental coverage, and it sucks.
Wow. So does that also contribute to you wanting universal health care?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And yeah, absolutely. And the dental care is important. It's important to keep mentioning because you say universal health care, not everybody really registers. Yeah, that also means dental care. That also means mental health care because, you know, we have cities in our street, in our district where we have a lot of mentally ill people on the streets walking around. And it's crazy. See a lot of stuff. And man, I've had eye care issues where you can see, you can go to the eye doctor once a year. If they get the prescription wrong, too bad, you're out of luck, because you have to wait until it's been a year, and they'll cover like $50 of your glasses, but you have to pay the rest or something like that.
Yeah, it gets expensive, and that's why so many people put stuff off, especially with medications. And California got the closest it's ever gotten for single payer. But thank you, Anthony Rendon, who is a Democrat. It's shelved now. So what is your take on where that bill is right now?
The California bill?
Yeah.
My take on it is that it's under Anthony Rendon's butt, and he's just sitting on it. That's from what I understand. And so hopefully he will be losing his coming election.
Fingers crossed.
We'll be moving on without his ass.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A lot would change if he got out. You also talk about police and prison reform, which a lot of candidates don't put on their platforms, but I always bring it up because it's so important. I know California does have for-profit prisons. What are you specifically passionate about as far as ending the for-profit prisons?
Ending them. I watched a lot of videos, just like everybody else that's probably watching this the last couple of years. A lot of police violence issues, mostly against people of color, but not only people of color. It needs to be reformed. I've watched. We have a Senator, Kamala Harris, who came up with what I thought sounded like a really great bail reform bill, but apparently the establishment told her it wasn't possible, and it suddenly disappeared. And that's where the corporate money comes into effect. The cash bail needs to just be gotten rid of. We need to get rid of corporate prisons. We need to just go to community policing. Absolutely.
Along that line. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. One thing I've learned in the last year or so is that the history of police forces, that the police forces were actually created to police on a racial basis. Like, that is the origins of police forces.
Absolutely. Totally by design. Do you support cannabis legalization and on people's records being retroactive so they can get gainful employment?
Absolutely. Cannabis being illegal is just so stupid. And again, it's all about corporate money. It's illegal. It was made illegal because it interfered with Dow Pharmaceuticals. It's remained illegal because it's interfered with the profits of pharmaceutical companies and tobacco companies. Absolutely. I intend to co-sponsor the End Federal Prohibition of Marijuana Act. I support home growth, commercial growth, manufacturing. It's like a thermometer of our freedom. Cannabis is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and on that note, agriculturally, when I spoke with Josh last night, he actually educated me that in California, in certain districts, there are, a bit of farms and things like that. Do you have that in your district?
I thought you were going to ask me if I was growing. Like, I tried that once. Didn't work out too well.
Actually, as a Green Party member, that may help you.
I did. I tried it when I was like 17 or something, and my dad caught me. Oh, my God, what are you doing? You're going to go to jail. You want to go to jail? But I didn't have grow lights or anything, and I didn't know what I was doing. I'm sorry, I got distracted. What was your question?
Um, if you have any farming, like farms in your district.
In my district, I'm actually not sure about that. I know that Napa County, I believe they are working on allowing farming to go on up in the north of the valley. But I'm not 100% on the answer to that question.
So, you do as a green, candidate, you obviously are concerned with environment. There's a lot of factions as far as that, category goes. What are the things you'd specifically like to see, hopefully in the near future?
Well, I'd like to co-sponsor Tulsi Gabbard's bill to move to 100% renewables by 2035. I think we can do it even sooner if we really tried. But we're going to have to eliminate that corporate money first. I'd like to see fuel standards of our automobiles go way up incrementally until we are 100% electric automobiles. And I know even electric automobiles aren't totally clean, but we need to keep the fossil fuels in the ground. I'd like to push jobs in the clean energy industry instead of we have city council in Vallejo trying to push a cement factory, which I've been protesting, and I think it's almost dead, hopefully. And I know that they're trying to expand a refinery in Rodeo, which is in the south of my district as well, to include tar sands oil, which would be really disastrous. And that's just the kind of jobs we don't need more of. We need clean energy jobs. We need to be pushing housing jobs. And instead, what we have is wealthy people trying to push jobs that will profit them.
Absolutely. Do you support a federal job guarantee?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think anybody that really grasps MMT has to support that because we know we can pay for it. We just have to pressure Congress to pass the bill, right?
Yeah, essentially, yeah, we can definitely do this, and it'll, cut down on so much homelessness and unemployment, and it'll help with depression, and it'll, stimulate the economy. I mean, there's so many things that can happen when that would pass.
Absolutely. That's why I think it's so important to get people working specifically in the housing industry because you're solving two problems at the same time.
Absolutely. Do you have a lot of homelessness in your district?
We have a lot of homelessness in our district, especially up in Santa Rosa, but not only in Santa Rosa, also in Vallejo and around. And it's not just homelessness; it's also just rising housing prices and gentrification. People using a lot of landlords have used. We've had some fires the last couple of years, and we've had landlords use that as an excuse to raise rents to try to compensate for losses, and it's not pretty.
Wow! So even in I'm in Pennsylvania, all the way on the East Coast, and even it's kind of crazy to me to hear that California, there's places who are, dealing with gentrification. That's crazy to me because before I did this show, I was not educated with the differences of so many states. As far as the housing goes, do you support a cap on what rents are allowed to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're working on repealing the Costa-Hawkins bill so that we can put rent control in place. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Looks like, Josh is here. He says regular farms are common in Napa, vineyards, ranching, orchards, etc. So what, as far as your employment, I didn't find what you do right now. Are you working right now?
Right now, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I
Oh,
was a
okay.
pharmacy
Awesome.
technician and hurt my back, got sick, and I've been a stay-at-home dad for the last couple of years.
Oh, wow. So how old is your child?
I have an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old and a 21, almost 22-year-old.
Are they getting politically active or?
Yes. My let's see, my 22-year-old Logan, he is a burner for sure. Well, all my children are burners, actually. My 11-year-old, he is an activist, and hopefully he's going to run for office as well. He's been going to protests with me. He went out and helped me gather signatures and has gone to city council meetings. And I don't know why an 11-year-old is even interested in this kind of thing, but it's great.
That's
It's great.
amazing. That is so awesome.
My 13-year-old, he supports me and he likes my political views, but he's not so much interested in actually doing it.
Have you been canvassing a lot?
Not enough, but yeah.
So what are the people like who you're speaking with? Are they, is it, are they hopeful, or are they completely just, disheartened by what, we've been going through since we got screwed?
I think most people that I talk to, like 90% of the people I talk to are just totally disgusted and ready to replace almost the entire government. Even the ones that support Trump and don't support me, they're just as disgusted with the Democrats as I am. Yeah.
Absolutely. So as a Green, I make a lot of, I'm an independent, but as someone who's not part of the duopoly, I make a lot of posts as far as, they are two heads of the same snake in so many ways. And you are able to vote open this time, which is so exciting because you can have people vote Green for you who aren't Greens, which is really advantageous. So are you kind of using that to, encourage people like, okay, the Dems are acting like Republicans, so why don't you see how Greens can, shake shit up, essentially?
Yeah, that's definitely the goal and the mission. Try to talk to everybody I can in all different communities and all walks of life. But the what we have are like a semi-open primary. It's a top two system, and so in most areas, in my race, it's kind of cool and I'm okay. But in a lot of areas and in the statewide races, the Green Party really gets screwed because there's going to be a Democrat and a Republican. And most of the places in this state and in those statewide races, it's going to be really hard for Greens to get on the ballot. So I would like to see that change a little bit.
Right. That's something really interesting. I know there's some people from California watching because I recognize you guys. But for those who don't know, California has interesting primaries in that the top two people move forward to the general. It could be two Democrats, two Republicans, a Green, and an independent. Regardless, the top two people go. And I'm not familiar with any other states who do that. So that's definitely interesting. That could be really advantageous because the two best people might not be Democrat and Republican.
Well, I mean, I think it sounded like a good idea at the time, but it was a mistake.
Oh, really? What do you think the downfall is to that?
Well, like I just said, you're going to end up with two Democrats, or you're going to end up with a Democrat and a Republican. But in most cases, it's going to be really hard for a Green or an independent or even a libertarian or another third party candidate to make it that far. In my case, I think the Republican didn't really have a chance anyway. But the Republican in my race did withdraw, so there is no Republican. So in my case, I think I have a really good chance. But in a lot of cases, the Greens do not, unfortunately.
So how many people are you running against then if the Republican dropped?
There are 3 other people, 2 independents and the incumbent Democrat.
Oh, wow. That's pretty amazing. I like how there's way more third party than a Dem. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of distrust of Democrats these days.
Good.
Yeah.
People need to distrust them. So what are you looking forward to as far as, let's say you win the election, you win the general, what is one of the first things you want to focus on as soon as you get into office?
So much to focus on. One of the first things I'm going to do is I have a feeling that the incumbent's office is working kind of in an inappropriate way on this refinery expansion and this cement factory that we've been trying to stop. And so one of the first things I'm going to do is call my offices and say, hey, knock this crap off. We're not doing that. I've got, excuse me, one of my goals is to work on cleaning up our lakes and rivers. I've got 2 lakes in this district that are severely contaminated with mercury, as well as poisonous algae blooms. And I tried to contact the Bureau of Water Management and see what's up and how can we get this taken care of. And they need the EPA to release this money. And understandably, under Scott Pruitt, that's not going to happen. But this has been going on for decades and under all different administrations. And so one of my missions is to form a coalition with other representatives and other senators and travel around the country holding press conferences, trying to bring awareness to the public so that they're calling the EPA and saying, hey, release this money. And thanks to Steve Grumbine, I understand that all we need to do is pass the damn bill and they can make the money. So that's going to take time to get that accomplished. And so that's one of my first priorities.
Awesome. You also, as far as that goes, so you do support MMT?
Oh, yeah.
That's exciting. I rarely get people who know what that is. So
the way I understand it, my support is irrelevant. It just is.
Right. Well, that's a very good point. Very, very good point. I expect some exciting comments in there.
Yeah, I've got some personal tutoring from Steve on that.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think we all have at some point. I definitely needed it when I first started my show.
I did too. I could tell there was something there, but I just didn't get it. And I'm like, God, it doesn't, there's something, I don't get it. And he's just like, get it, or you deserve an elbow in the nose. And I'm like, what the hell?
Exactly. One day it just hits you.
Yeah.
Josh said, ask Jason about Measure C. Are you familiar? Yeah.
Measure C is an Napa County issue. Yes, on Measure C, that's my view. The Measure C's aim is to protect the oak trees in the woodshed, to protect the water, so that there's more water in the soil, to filter, protect. We've got an overabundance of vineyards in the Napa Valley. You know, everybody knows that Napa Valley's got a lot of vineyards, but we actually have an overabundance where it's like enough is enough. But the corporate vineyards, they want to have vineyards everywhere. So we're trying to protect the open spaces. So yeah, that's what that's about.
Okay. As far as immigration, Are you seeing a lot of, in your district, you have a lot of problems with ICE or any kind of immigration issues?
I've heard of some. I don't know the numbers. I don't know how to compare it to another district, but I know we've had some issues. I'm sure we haven't had as many as like down south in LA. I'm sure they have it worse than here, but I've heard of some issues. I know some people who've watched their neighbors been hauled away. We've got I can't think of the words, legal observer trainings going on, and I've gone to the legal observer training, and I'm part of that as well.
Awesome. So what does that entail?
That entails if somebody ICE is knocking on somebody's door, they call up the number, they give that information, and then they call the legal observers who go down there, and it's our mission, it's our goal to film ICE and to make sure that the people are okay and everything is documented, but we don't not to get involved and to keep a distance because we don't want any of us to get hurt either.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. We have the National Lawyers Guild, which does something like that in Pennsylvania. That's amazing. What is your take on immigration? What do you hope to see hopefully happen as soon as possible?
I would like to see it declared that people can't be illegal. I'd like to just grant citizenship to whatever immigrants happen to be living here right now. I understand that immigrants, especially Latino immigrants, deal with a lot of underpayment in their work, oppression. They deal with harassment. They deal with sexual harassment, sometimes even rape. And they, they can't report it because they're afraid they're going to get deported. And it's just the best solution is to just give everybody citizenship. People can't be illegal. They aren't taking our jobs. If these people weren't out there doing this work, they're doing stuff that most of us wouldn't be doing.
Absolutely. And that's one of the other good things about the federal job guarantee. Once, they get that too. They can't be paid, garbage wages. Now, a lot of people, have the Fight for 15 on their platform, but in California, I know that's not going to be enough. What is your, what amount do you do Fight for 15 and then to start and then hope it progresses from there? Or what is your ideal?
I think so. I think, it's hard because Napa is really expensive. San Francisco is a really expensive area to live, like really expensive. But there are other areas in California that aren't that expensive. And $15 an hour would be more than sufficient to live in those places. But $15 an hour is still not enough in Napa or San Francisco. So I think it somehow has to be specific to the area, to the cost of living in that area. And I'd like to see the minimum wage actually indexed to the cost of living. So that as the price of energy, the price of food, the price of housing goes up, then the minimum wage goes up too. Because people, regardless of the argument of some people think that it was never an intention that should be a livable wage, needs to be a livable wage now. There are too many people living on and trying to live on minimum wage that are working two jobs. And it's a result of disastrous trade agreements that are cross-sectional trade agreements between third world country and our country. Without the controls, there need to be adjustments for safety standards and wage standards. And if you don't make those adjustments, then what we have is what we have, which is our American jobs competing with jobs in Indonesia or Mexico or Brazil, and lower safety standards, lower pay. Corporations just threaten to if you're going to unionize, if you're going to decide, if your union's going to decide that you demand higher wages, oh well, we're going to have to move to Mexico, and so that's used as a threat to bust unions and to prevent livable standards.
Absolutely. If there's one thing you want to leave our audience with so that they go to your website or recommend people to your page who are in your district or even throw you a few dollars, share this on their page, anything like that, what do you want to share to our viewers right now?
Well, we haven't mentioned our wonderful U.S. foreign policy, so let's leave viewers with that. We need to, we've been fighting a lot of wars for a long time, and it's not about humanitarianism. It's been about money. Even when it's been about regime change, it's been about money. It's not about al-Assad being a jackass. It's not about caring about Iraqis. It's about the money, and we need to stop our American imperialism. We are an imperialist country. Wanting people to die for cheaper gas prices is imperialist.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I tell any conservatives or what have you who are all for troops being dispersed and everything is your kid one of them who's going over there? Because if you wouldn't send your kid for it, then don't promote someone else going there. So that's something I really like about the Green Party is they are anti-war. And we all know that the Dems aren't and the Republicans aren't. So that's definitely a good thing. Did you want to give your website and your Twitter and Facebook and all that fun stuff?
Sure. The problem is spelling the name, right?
Well, it's up on the screen.
The website is www.kishineff.org. The Twitter handle is Twitter/Kishineff. On Facebook, it is Facebook/ Jason Kishineff for Congress 2018. My regular page is just Facebook/ Jason Kishineff. Either of those will work, and they should lead you to each other. If you contact me through my email or through the web page, you hit the contact button. It'll shoot me an email. I answer all questions.
Awesome. And you definitely want to check out these comments on the show afterwards as well.
Yeah, you said I'd see the comments, but I don't actually see any comments.
Yeah, sometimes they don't pop up during the show for some reason, but after we stop going live, you'll be able to see them all.
It's probably better. I don't want to be distracted.
Yeah, it gets. I catch myself getting distracted too after like over 80 shows. So, but thank you guys so much for watching. Again, California votes Tuesday. So this is freaking huge. There's so many amazing California candidates. Please get out. Please vote. Okay, some gentleman named Matthew is he got his mail-in ballot today, so he's gonna vote. We need to get progressives elected so desperately, and the only way that's gonna happen is by people researching and getting off their ass. Besides California, Tuesday there is Alabama, Iowa, Mississippi, Montana, New Jersey, South Dakota, and New Mexico. So 8 states.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It is a lot. Tomorrow I will have a candidate named Eric Frame. He is a indie from California, District 6. He was a burner in the primary and voted Jill in the general. So those are kind of my favorite people. So I don't really like having Hillary supporters on my show. well, I should say I don't have them on my show. And then Thursday, I have Jovanka Beckles from California. She'll be coming on, and she seems pretty badass, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
Jovanka's badass, yeah.
Yeah.
We have some mutual friends. I haven't met her yet, but if you're in her district, vote for her.
Yeah, she's making waves for sure, and you know Nina supports her and everything, which is badass. Also, you guys, I know we're down to the wire. All 8 of those states vote Tuesday. If you want to send me a PM to Joy Marie Mann on Facebook, if you have any other suggestions of candidates I haven't had that are, you know, whose primary is Tuesday, just hit me up. I'll look into them. I've already had over 80, so I may have had them. But if you have any candidates who you really want to get out there, who you support, who you want to give the exposure to, just PM me and I'll look them up and I'll see if I can get them on. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much, Jason. Best of luck on Tuesday. I feel good about the Greens and Independents on Tuesday.
And I want to thank you for having so many Greens on lately. I think I've seen most of the Greens that I know have been on your show lately. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes. People, for a while, Greens were like, nah, she's a burner. She doesn't want Greens. I'm like, yeah, I fucking do. Of course I do. If you're progressive, I want you. So thank you guys again for watching. Thank you, Jason. I'll be back next few nights, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Is it okay if I say hi, Deborah? Oh, I guess
of
just that's okay.
Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Sure.